Hi everyone, thanks so much for following the Meet Me for Coffee podcast on the road. We are back at it again, creating more special edition content here at the Trimble Insight 2025 conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. If you guys like the content that you watch in this episode, be sure to go back and check out the channel to see all of the other amazing on-site interviews that are taking place this week here in New Orleans. And thanks for meeting us for coffee. Hi everyone, thanks so much for listening in to the Meet Me for Coffee podcast, coming to you from the Trimble Insight Conference here in New Orleans. I am excited to be having my next conversation of the day, joined by Ricardo. Ricardo, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Well, for anyone who doesn't know you, would you mind please introducing yourself and just telling me a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Ricardo Malacara. I'm part of the sales team at Overhaul, and I'm located in Mexico, but I handle customers globally. I started in Overhaul for about 4 years ago in the operations side as a customer success manager. But then a couple of years back, Overhaul did an expansion for more global footprint, and I transitioned into the commercial sales, to the commercial area, which helped me. The fact that I understood the platform and what our customers face day to day has really helped me bringing this experience into helping our customers. Our new customers when they come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you tell me more about who Overhaul is and the work that you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, more or less about 10 years ago, Overhaul noticed the difficulties on that monitoring companies had, right? Fragmented data, data being pulled from different telematic sources or IoT devices, all in different screens. So we figured out a way to integrate all of that into one single unified view, right? Which really helps the monitoring experience because you get one signal, one dot in the map, and you can track your cargo. Now, we top that with actionable intelligence, route planning, workflows, which has made our platform really a predictive tool, right?
Okay.
So we measure the risk level of your cargo, and we interact with the drivers or the brokers or whomever we have to before an actual theft occurs. So we look for the exceptions, we monitor on that, and we act on that. Overhaul serves many industries. We monitor beverages, we monitor pharma companies, high-end electronics, apparel, sportswear, basically anybody that has cargo that they want to look after, right?
Yeah.
Valuable cargo. So we have monitoring centers in Brazil, Mexico, United States, and a couple in Europe. So we monitor cargo globally, multimodal, so we can integrate to marine data or airline data, track, and over the road.
Okay. I've heard, there's been a lot of talk about cargo security and theft over the last few years. And when I think people are being really candid when they're talking about it, they'll say things like, well, yeah, I have visibility on it, but what is the visibility going to do if, it's getting stolen or if it looks like it's moving? Or now, we're even hearing that you can, hackers and theft rings are really good at faking the macro point pings or whatever it is that's tracking it. And so I think we were in a constant state of evolution in a bad way on the security side, where we're always getting a little bit more advanced with the metrics that we're up against when it comes to security and theft and cargo risk. So what would you say? Can you kind of tell me maybe what you've noticed in the last, you said that Overhaul's been doing this working on this for 10 years?
Well, Overhaul as a company, yes.
Okay.
Our top management team has been in cargo security for 30 or 40 years, right?
So what have you guys observed, or what have your company seen evolve throughout the space when it comes to cargo security?
So what you were saying at the beginning is right.
Yeah.
A dot in the map does not mean that your cargo is secure, right? You may know where it is and where it's going, but you may never see it again. So what people need to understand is cargo theft is a professional activity. These are prepared individuals that they gather data, they gather intelligence, they have people on the lookout. Sometimes they have people inside distribution centers and organizations, and they monitor driver behavior. They monitor the stops, they monitor where the cargo goes, and they prepare their activities and their thefts. They're not just random people that are out there saying, oh, let's take a trailer, right? So the criminal activity, it's professional. So you need a professional watching over your cargo. And that is also correct. We've seen them evolve into what we call fraud thefts, which are they're hacking systems, they're altering documents, they're altering driver's license. It was just in the news this past few days that they're also buying legitimate trucking companies to start operating them for cargo theft, right? So we've seen this evolve. 30% of the theft in the US right now is fraudulent theft. The other 7 is still your traditional over the road, they open the trailer, they take out the boxes, right? Probably 5 years ago, there was no fraudulent theft or very little. Now the double brokering and all these activities is very common. So we developed a system, we call it Fraud Watch, where we vet the carrier, vet the driver. We do like a double security check, before the carrier arrives and when the carrier arrives and before the pickup. And then we have all the in-transit security. And yes, we monitor the cargo, we know where it is, but we also have a very large, we call the LE Connect team, which Law Enforcement Connect, which is comprised of ex-law enforcement people that work with the authorities whenever a cargo is stolen. So one of our customers said the other day, it's cops talking to cops, so they know how to talk to each other, right? So we have over 95% recovery success in the US when cargo gets stolen, and 88% in Mexico, which for Mexico is a very large number. We're very proud of that, but our main work is on prevention. A cargo recovered for us, it's a signal of a job not well done because we should have prevented the theft. There's people that are willing to take the risk and they're willing to take the cargo and will recover it, but most of the work goes into the planning.
Well, how do you try to stay ahead of the problems in your space? What is it that you guys are doing, internally to make sure that we're not just, it's okay, I think we seem to know everything good enough as it exists today when it comes to issues. Are you guys always trying to kind of push and think about what more could we be doing, or how do we try to get ahead of what's going to be the next way that these fraudsters or these bad actors come up with to steal?
Yes, we're a very innovative company, right? We have several verticals going into this, right? We have our own IoT development group, which is always testing new devices, that help us track better, because we're in essence a software company, not a hardware company, right? So we're device agnostic. So whenever there's a new device out there that promises something great, we can use it. We'll test it. We have our own testing system. We'll test battery life, resistance, signal accuracy. And we'll validate it, and if it works, we'll use it and we'll suggest it to our customers, right? We also have the platform that we have. It's our own. It's our property. So it's constantly evolving and developing. We're right now integrating much more AI into it, automated workflows, automated alerts. It's going to make us be quicker in responding. It's going to help our watch officers do a much better monitoring, and of course, being data-driven helps us, right? We're always analyzing the data. Our intel groups, not only in the US, but globally in Mexico, our intel groups are leaders on that space. So we always have fresh data on where the trends on thefts are going to be ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to look at the data more and what's happening in real time and trying to pick up early on trends or new cases, I would suppose. There's probably a first time for everything that you guys see and figure out how to react to that. What do you think is, when it comes to basic protection? So if I'm a fleet and I want to protect, well, let me ask this real quickly. Who all do you work with when it comes to protecting cargo?
Everybody. So many of our customers own the merchandise, right? So the big brands, the big electronic brands in the world, or pharma, they want to protect their cargo, so they hire us, and then we work with their brokers and their carriers on the plan, on talking to their drivers, where they stop, etc. But there's also some brokers that hire us because they want to be able to tell their customers that they will protect their cargo, right? And one of our offerings is also insurance. So our insurance rates go way down when you use our technology because we partner with different insurance companies that know us.
Interesting.
We have in our platform today over 60 billion data points globally, which help us, understand where the hot areas are, where the dangerous zones are, even by day of the week or hour of the day, right? In Mexico, we even know it by type of vehicle, which vehicles get robbed more in which highways. So all
you
of
guys
that,
publish that in a report, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
I think I saw that on your website.
We publish a quarterly,
Yes.
the over-the-road security report for sure for Mexico, Brazil, and the U.S. And we also publish a global report, and that is used industry-wise.
I think I saw in the most recent America report, like the United States report that you published, that it was something like over 60% of these like real thefts are in the like either California or New Jersey or something like that, in like certain metros.
It was probably California, Arizona.
Yeah.
Chicago is also hot. In Canada, Toronto is also hot.
So I'd have to imagine, it's probably shippers who have experienced this. They have the type of commodity that's a target for theft, and then they're in one of these, red zones, if you will, and they're probably having to think a lot differently than other shippers out there around how aggressive they get on their fraud protection and prevention plan.
Correct. So, California, for instance, a good example is a lot of it is cargo arriving by vessel, by ocean, and then being hauled across the U.S. So, getting cargo out of California, it's a long drive. So,
right.
A lot of truck drivers may stop to eat or to use the facilities or something. And, cargo at ease, it's cargo at risk, right? So yeah, California's a hot spot, and so is Arizona.
So what would you say at this point in time is considered like table stakes when it comes to protecting yourself and protecting your cargo, whether that's a certain type of like insurance or technology or process you use? Like what is like bare minimum that we need to see? And then tell me, we don't always want bare minimum. So then what would be more the leading edge or cutting edge of protecting your freight?
Well, for several reasons that I'm not going to go into it right now, insurance, it's a must, right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody needs to have insurance. And then if you talk about Mexico, you have to even be more careful because carriers, they have to have an insurance, but there's a limit. The insurance does not cover the cargo, right?
Right.
So if you hire a carrier and you put your load in it and it goes into Mexico and it gets stolen, the carrier may be liable for maybe a couple of $1,000, and you may have $1 million worth of merchandise in the trailer, right? So you need to make sure you have the right insurance.
Right.
That's so you can sleep well.
That's definitely probably bare minimum at this point.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
But when we talk about security, bare minimum would be you absolutely need a plan. You can't wing it. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to send cargo from point A to point B and then see what happens, right?
Yeah.
You need to know who your partners are. You need a route to be defined. If the cargo is going to stop, where is it going to stop, for how long? If it's going to be overnight, because of the driver hours or something, where is it going to stop overnight? And then you need workflows. What happens if that doesn't happen? So if your cargo starts going south, who are you going to call? If your cargo stops and the driver doesn't answer, what are you going to do? And for that, you need a partner, right? So there are a lot of companies out there offering visibility, and they do. And you see your cargo, and then you see your cargo going where it shouldn't be going, and then there's nothing to do, right? So what type of partners are you going to have that monitor cargo, that can have reaction, that can plan ahead, that can work with your teams in order to prevent thefts? Again, going back to Mexico, about 80% of the thefts in Mexico include violence, right? So we're not only protecting the cargo, we're also protecting the driver. So
right.
For the driver to comply to security measures, it's on his own well-being, right? Mm-hmm. But so the bare minimum, it's a plan. You need to have a plan. You can't just go out there without it. Number two is you need to partner with brokers and shippers that you trust, and you need a monitoring partner. If you're going to have a monitoring operation, that's fine. You need a good monitoring software, and you're going to need a team 24 hours a day to do it. But if you're going to go with a monitoring partner, make sure it's somebody that has real-time visibility, has reaction plans on it, and has a proven record of doing it.
Yeah. Random question, because I heard this recently, so I'll ask you because I feel like you would know. I heard that in Mexico, a lot of the cargo theft incidents are actually really underreported because maybe it's partly, in fact, due to the insurance. Like, it's generally not, if someone was underprepared, it's not worth it to go through the process of filing. And a lot of the data that the industry is pulling is coming from like insurance reports. How do you feel about that?
It could be partially true, but there's different data, right? So in Mexico, the government data, unfortunately, may be a little bit underreported because of what you're mentioning. But we work with an external association, an association that gathers all the monitoring companies in Mexico. And we actually provide the intel for that association, right? Okay. So we gather data from that association, from open sources, and we at Overhaul, we feel we got a very good pulse on cargo theft in Mexico. Now, in Mexico, your cargo has to be somewhat tracked. It has to have a tracking mechanism in order to be insured. So, and I have to say most cargo is insured. Now, not every theft is reported to the authorities, because once you report it to the authorities, they have to help you recover the cargo. And when they do, that cargo becomes evidence and it goes to a holding area. And now you have your computers or something sitting there for a couple of months, which also a lot of companies don't want. So a lot of thefts don't get reported because of that, especially if you can recover them quick.
What has Overhaul found to be effective for actually tracking trucks in Mexico? Because I know that some tools that are more commonly used in the US have fairly low visibility rates when they're partnering with Mexican fleets.
Well, like I was saying, we do a lot of testing on the devices. So we can use the telematics on the trailer. We integrate several IoT devices, and we also use smart seals for the doors. So the best way to go is with a combination of them, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, it's security layers. So it's really depending on your budget on security, and that's also going to depend on the cargo that you're moving, right? We would normally suggest a couple of internal IoT devices, a smart seal, and the telematics of the truck. We can also integrate the driver's cell phone, so to the signals, right? So the more signals, the more security layers we have, the better we can help you. Right. But in general, a good IoT device will have cell coverage and satellite coverage, right? So our platform will let you interchange between signals. Also, move the ping rate. So if there was a theft, you can move the ping rate to like every minute to follow the truck like very precisely. Or if the battery is running out, you can move the ping to be like every hour, so you can save battery. So it's really going to depend on a case by case. But we use a lot of IoT devices in Mexico. Another thing that we use in Mexico that we don't in the US, it's an RF device. And this is because Mexico still has an RF network out there and the US doesn't, right? So it's very difficult for criminals to jam an RF device. So not all of the cargo uses it, but when we find it's very tempting cargo, we tend to go that way as well.
So the more options you can have for even just one load in one truck, obviously, the more secure that can be when we're getting multiple sources feeding that data that all align to say the same thing.
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I mean, you don't need 10 different devices, right? But the combination of them
But if they're available,
yes,
definitely tap in and take advantage.
It gets us more visibility.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Well, any last thoughts or advice that you would like to give to anyone who is participating in maybe high-value cargo movement, cross-border movement?
Well, yeah, it's like this. If you have a brand that customers love, thieves are going to love it too, right?
Yeah, right.
You got to think about that. And they're going to find customers for it too. So my number one recommendation would be, if you want to secure your cargo, just partner with Overhaul. But, going after that, I'd say always have a plan. Always partner with a professional company to help you monitor. Make sure you can have different signals to monitor and be ready with a reaction plan. Yeah. Don't try to improvise, because these criminals out there are very, they're very good at what they do. They're professionals.
Right.
So you have to be more professional than they are.
Right. Well, I have one last question for you. Was this your first time attending Trimble Insight?
It is. It is. I came yesterday. I I participated in a roundtable on cross-border security.
Okay.
And today, here with you.
Okay. What have been your thoughts and kind of takeaways, or what would you say to someone considering attending Trimble next year?
I went to one of the first talks over at the theater. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I think the technology in Trimble is great.
Yeah.
So anyone that has a brokering company or a freight company should be here learning about what's new out there in the market, right?
Yeah.
So definitely. The exhibit is also very nice. I love the puppies, honestly.
Yeah.
I actually sent pictures to my family.
I don't think we've talked about that on the podcast yet, but for anyone who listens in, they have a puppy park here, and you can stop by and pet the puppies. So I feel like do you need more incentive to come to the show next year? I don't know. So.
No, I would come for the puppies, but no, I think the show is great.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for making the podcast a part of your show. I appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you for having me. It was
Absolutely.
great.
And thank you, everyone, for meeting us for coffee today.
Thank you.
Thanks for meeting us for coffee today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to check out our channels and subscribe. It would also mean a lot if you could leave us a rating or a review. If you're listening on LinkedIn, feel free to drop your thoughts or your questions in the comments section, and we'd be happy to get back to you. Thanks again.